right. Let's give people a few minutes to get in. Should be hopefully a good attendance here, but I'm sure a lot of people are busy with New Year, New You.
That's
Um,
true.
all right. Let's see. Yeah, the Riverside like has this new update, or I don't know if it's like my laptop or camera, but every time I like point the camera more upward, the camera auto focuses down, so it keeps getting like my bed in the background, and I'm just
That's
like,
so funny.
I'm like, okay, like I'm tilting you up for a reason, not so you could go down again.
When I first got the new MacBook, it had like that center, I don't know, it does like the center stage thing. It
Yeah.
was just like messing me up so bad. And I felt like I was like, oh my God, I don't know technology anymore because I was trying to figure out how to turn it off. I
Hmm.
just couldn't figure it out for the life of me.
Yeah. It's so weird, dude. I don't know it either. I should know it, given that I am in the tech space. But I didn't know the update came. Give me one sec. Let me see if I have the correct link on LinkedIn. I hope so. I think so. Right now it's showing 4 people in the studio. Oh, 5. Okay. People are joining. Where's everyone calling in from? What's going on? It's a little quiet in here.
It's a little quiet.
Let's see. All right. Someone responded in the chat.
In LA.
In LA.
It's just as
Awesome.
early for you as it is for us. It's great.
Early. We've been the whole Reacher team's been switching to the wake up at 5:40 in the morning and workout grind. Um and
Nice.
then
5:30?
5:30 because that's the only time you get. It's the only time is 6 to like 7:15, and then everything starts hitting in at the tail end of 7, all the messages and everything, and I need to work out to center my day.
So Bora has you guys all working out now.
Yeah, he does.
I
He
love
has
that.
me working out a ton and like
I love that. I love that. That
yeah,
sounds about right. That sounds about right. I'm up at
turning me into a
5:30,
mini.
but because I have 2 kids, I need to get to school.
Yeah,
They take
it's
forever.
different.
And like you won't believe, like 5:30 in the morning, I wake up, I already have ton of client messages. And so
Really.
I've had to, for my mental health, not look at them. I used to just like open them up as I was getting, my morning routine and just start answering. And I've been telling myself to start pushing them until I take my kids to school, because
Yeah.
otherwise then I'm stuck trying to do both, and
Hmm.
I don't do anything well then. I don't
It's
manage my
kind of tough. You
yeah,
like jump straight into cortisol like first thing in the morning, and then
yeah,
your brain isn't just able to
exactly.
start the day off right. So
Yep.
I mean that makes sense. Let's give everyone like 1 or 2 more minutes. EST mentality. Yeah, it's almost lunchtime for you. Oh wait, Jay painted fits in LA, so it's not
Yeah,
EST
but she's
mentality.
yeah, but they are on EST mentality, so it is almost lunch for them if
Mm,
that's what they're going based off of.
interesting. Okay. And Ukraine. That's pretty cool. I think that's our first. I guess no, I wouldn't say first international, but like I don't think we've had someone in Ukraine in the last webinar.
That's true.
So,
I have my
um,
tea ready so I can actually keep talking.
yeah, take a
Yep.
sip now. I think people are
I
probably
know.
going to be recording that we send to a lot more people. Um, that was me. Awesome. Yeah, I think it's probably going to be a recording that we send to a lot more people. I'm sure people are still wrapping up New Year, New You campaigns and work in the middle of the week. So let's just jump in.
Sounds
Um,
good to me. Let me share my screen.
so for this webinar, guys, Navi's prepared a presentation on profitability leaks that she's closed, being an agency operator here, and I'm mainly just going to be playing the part of like host, asking any clarifying questions and letting her take the lead here. So Navi, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yeah, it sounds good. And I want to preface by saying that Sohan and I went through a couple of different options on how to go through this presentation with you guys. And I think what we decided is we're going to take a sample SKU and take you through everywhere that you can leak profitability with that SKU. And so to give options, I'm going to share my screen here.
Let's do it.
All right. Can you guys see that? All right.
Yes, we can. Perfect.
All right. So how to scale one TikTok shop product profitably. So that's what we're going to walk through currently. And we're going to look at exactly where profit is made or lost and the decisions that compound that margin and the mistakes that look good at low GMV but break at scale. One of the things I notice because I'm pitching brands all the time is brands are not looking at unit economics. There are a few, but not all. And so, when they aren't looking at unit economics and they're not looking at the macro level, they're losing money in certain spaces that they just frankly shouldn't be. And when you start to scale, that loss compounds, and then all of a sudden they're like, why are we losing so much money? And it just becomes a larger issue, and that's what we want to try to avoid. So meet the SKU. I took a beauty and wellness product. Obviously, it's fake. The real price is $39. The COGS, the cost of goods, is $7, and the packaging and inserts is $1, which gives you a 79% gross margin pre-TikTok. Great margins. Great margins here for this product. Why I chose this SKU, it's mid-price, creator friendly. It's typically what you see the pricing of things on TikTok in general. This is typical gross margins I see before client products are being taken onto TikTok. And then because it's just a SKU that is a little bit on the lower end at $39, it is where I see most profit leak happen, because people over index on certain discounts and things like that.
Looks good. Yeah, I think separating out the packaging plus inserts and cogs is good. Like, as you guys may know, like in the past, TikTok Shop has had subsidized shipping, but I think separating this out, figuring out if you want to do FBT or stay with your own 3PL, like there's a lot of different shipping costs and different shipping methods you can look at when you're doing fulfillment. So I like
Correct.
this.
100%. And then typically when you're working with a consumer product company or anything, they're usually their COGS are separated out line item wise and their packaging and inserts are separated out. So I followed kind of the same
Yeah.
timeline here. So your baseline, this is just another way to put this. It's $39 AOV, $8 COGS and packaging, a $31 gross profit. That's a 79% gross margin.
Yep.
So just because you have a high gross margin though here does not mean that this is going to be profitable on TikTok Shop. So this is without any of the fees and associations of TikTok Shop. So you want to make sure that you go through the actual profit margin on TikTok to actually get your gross margin. So you add TikTok reality, which means you have to add the platform and transaction costs. And when I go through these, I'm going step by step. So step 2 is just adding TikTok's fees. We're not talking about commissions. We're not talking about anything else. So here I averaged out the TikTok's fee between 6 and 8%, because as we know, it's like tiered for sellers. And so you want to make sure. And so I always do it. I always do an average between 6 and 8%. So $2.75. They do a payment processing, which a lot of sellers and I would say, frankly, even agencies sometimes miss in the unit economics piece. And so your base platform cost for this $39 item is $3.50. And so that takes your margin down to $27.50, which brings you down from 79% to a 71% profit margin. So 8% just by taking out the TikTok fees.
And do you feel like this referral fee, like how does it reflect against like other marketplace like referral fees? Do you feel like it's
It's
still like
pretty
somewhat of a
similar.
yeah?
I'm not sure about the payment processing on Amazon side, but otherwise it's pretty similar to
Hmm.
others. I would actually say for most clients that I deal with, typically the TikTok fees are not a deal breaker.
Yeah.
It's typically when you go into the other variables that are just much higher that end up breaking. I've actually said no to clients that just don't have a good profit margin.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I mean, it doesn't
because
make sense. How can
yeah,
you guys both make money together? Yeah.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So
I
because yeah,
I
so
am
you
curious, what is like the tiering out per seller look like? Like, do you mind like diving more into like that tiering system, ranges of percentages and things like that? Like, what should people be looking out for if they're a lower tier seller? Is it worse?
No, so when you start off on TikTok, they start you typically, and they change this all the time. So please verbatim, they might have just changed it this morning, and I have no clue. They typically started at like 3.5%, around that range when you're a brand new seller, and they slowly, slowly, slowly just bring it up as your sales start to go up. So they do incentivize you as a new seller. I used to use a 6.8% as like an as the maximum, but then they've started to kind of creep up to that 8%. So I always try to give brands the worst case scenario,
Mm-hmm.
the maximum amount that could be taken out. So I have started creeping closer to the 8% when I'm trying to give them the base platform costs.
Interesting. And when you're saying their GMV goes up, is there like a specific moment where it starts to switch, like 10,000, 100,000, or
I think it's less about GMV, more about time on platform that they start to increase you up. Yeah.
interesting. Okay, so over time, if you start and map out your profitability, like let's say you're mapping all this out and your gross margin looks great, your profitability looks great. Over time, there's like a hidden leak there where your
Correct.
platform costs actually go up and up and up and up. And I think that's something really important to call out here because most people they might like hit like a 25% operating margin, but then if that platform fee jumps up from like 3% to 8%, you're starting to look at like an 18%, maybe 19% operating margin. And then,
Correct.
I think that's something to keep in mind when people are trying to forecast like what does it look like down the line? What does this look like as a mature channel versus planning your SKU at launch? So, good call
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah. So I always do 8% just to be overly
Yeah,
aggressive.
that makes sense.
The next big, and actually I would argue the biggest chunk of the margin that goes out from you is commissions. And so here I'm estimating a flat 25%. That's obviously high, but actually in the beauty wellness space, it's not high. We are typically recommending most brands start off at a 25%. I have some really aggressive clients at a 30% right now just to get into the market. And so you can see here in this example, 25% is $9.75 of of the commission that's left over. That leaves you at a 17.75 remaining profit at a
Mm-hmm.
45% margin after commission, which is still considered healthy. But now
Yeah.
I put it in yellow because now you're starting to get into that point where it might not be profitable anymore for you to get
Mm.
onto TikTok Shop. And commissions typically are eating about 35% of your profit when you're looking at this price point.
So I guess like how do you come up with these like calculations specifically? Like I know when I'm in open collaboration in TikTok, it gives me a range for similar products and industries. And I know in past webinars you've tended to go more aggressive when you're entering, right? It almost seems a little bit interesting where it's like your cost structures shift as you stay on the platform, all right? You scale back your commission as you get more mature and then maybe leave some higher commissions for the more
Correct.
VIP creators, but then your referral fees also go up. Like what are you doing to like manage those like shifting economics on like both ends here? Do you redo another profit calculation like 6 months down the line?
Correct. Actually, 3 months. So we
Okay.
redo, yeah, we do redo a P&L 3 months, and then we keep a really close eye on just ROAS in general. So I'll put everything into a sheet and then do ROAS. That is my background, so I think it's a little bit easier for me to do that. I used to manage like affiliate marketing for large brands, so it is easier. And for most larger companies and even some smaller, ROAS is like a really good indicator for them. It's typically what they're using as a major KPI. So if you put
Mm-hmm.
in all of the costs that sampling is going to cost them, I actually go even further. I do all sampling, including retainer fees for us as a TSP, including commission, including everything. I will put in a profit and loss calculator for them, and I originally show them one when I'm selling, obviously, but and once I get their cogs and stuff like that. But then I do another one, like I said, yeah, 3 months in, and then another one 6 months in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Do you think people should be still going like that high in beauty like for commission or is there like more clever ways where they can implement a bonus structure on the back end later on to
Mm,
preserve that margin?
I think until we can find until agencies or even brands can find different ways to kind of attract top talent, this is like the number one way to do it really quickly. So I think that's why we recommend it. We do, I mean, you know this, Sohan, we do a lot of outreach in different ways. But one of the biggest ways is still through using Reacher and doing mass outreach. So one of the only levers you can pull there is by using like your commission in like the subject line or using it
Yeah.
in like the first line to get in front of these creators. That's the only reason I recommend it is because beauty, like I'll take a look at just data, right? And see what the average commissions are. And if a client wants to be really aggressive, like one of my clients, we did 30%, but then I have another client whose profit margins were a lot less. So we
Mm-hmm.
went down to a 15%. And I was very honest with them about that it's probably just going to take longer to get the right affiliates on board because your commission's just that much lower. So I just right size the cold start period for those clients. So I don't say no to them, but I just right size how long it's going to take for us to get the amount of content that we really need in order to be successful on TikTok Shop.
Got it. Yeah, I think that's there's like something there because I think people lever up their CAC or cost to acquire customers very aggressively at the earlier stages, but they don't take into account like they want to get there fast, but they also want to get there fast and profitably. So I think just mapping it out one by one, understanding that certain elements of your cost structures can change over time is going to be key there. And
Correct.
yes, it is going to be recorded. This will be recorded, and I will make a post, and anyone who wants the recording can DM me after, and I will send this over along with the deck.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. So we've jumped now from 79% down to 45.5% just
Correct.
by implementing commission.
Mm-hmm.
So big jump here. And this is just the most basic revenue lever you can pull on TikTok Shop. So we haven't even
100%.
gotten into the other ones yet.
100%. 100%. So it's the first league. Um, the quiet killer, and I always call this, is shipping. I have seen
Hmm.
so many sellers just fail through fulfillment and shipping. And like, just for context, my agency has a wide array of clients. We have clients that are just really big, and they're closer to like enterprise level, and then we have very small mom and pop. And I will tell you on both ends, shipping is probably the number one like friction point because as they start to scale and they have to get out their product based on TikTok's fulfillment, fulfillment requirements, you start to see this like really kind of go up. And so for this, I used basically if someone was doing fulfillment on their own. So I went with what I had in front of me. So if they're doing
Hmm.
it on their own, which a lot of like a lot of smaller companies are doing it on their own, it's $7.50 for this plus the pick and pack. So you can see here it basically took their profit margin down from a 45% to 23% just with shipping. So for this client specifically, I would tell them they needed a 3PL to make it cheaper or FBT, right? So FBT has been like a really big one. Like this same package on FBT would be about $4.25 to ship. So it gives you like another $3 and change to add to your profit margin. And that, even that $3 and change, then puts you up to a healthy profit margin.
What's the cost benefit between going for FBT versus just handling through your own 3PL, for that margin saved?
Some people just aren't big enough to do the 3PL, and it's easier for them to ship pallets out from wherever they're getting their stuff made to FBT. FBT takes a fee when you first bring it into the origin space, unless you're smart enough to know exactly where it needs to go. But it's not that high. And then afterwards, they just have very competitive shipping. And
Hmm.
so for me, like FBT makes sense if you can't sign a contract with a larger 3PL. And then I have a lot of international clients, Sohan, that FBT is just frankly easier for us to manage
Yeah.
here as an agency in the States. But 3PLs will also get your cost much lower. Like I said, this is just shipping and labeled through TikTok shipping. And so
Hmm.
the option that they offer right now, and this is USPS. And so I just tried to pick something that was right in the middle just to show how easy it is to bring you down so quickly
Yeah.
in your profit margin.
But I think this is pretty standard, like $7, like all in pick and pack shipping. Like I've seen that across like so many
Yep.
brands, so that makes sense. Cool. Already at 23.7%, and I haven't even ran a marketing promotion yet.
Nope, not yet. Not yet.
Okay. All right.
So scale this and it breaks, right? Even if you look at nothing else and you're looking at it, your profit per order is $9.25. Your total profit is 92,500. But here's the catch: one shipping increase, one creator rate bump, one discount, and the profit completely collapses on this product.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So, and then so I walk you through kind of I do talk about GMV max later, but I also will preface by saying that I don't consider GMV max a leak. So, and we'll talk through why I think that.
Okay.
But first, you want to do tiered creator economics. We do this all the time after their first 60, after the first 90 days. We do
Mm-hmm.
this all the time where we'll start to tier creators. I think it's the smartest way to do it. So by the time you hit 90 days, you know who your top creators are, at least in that first cohort of creators. And you want to scale and like tier those creators. What that does is just offers you more margin on a bigger chunk of creators, but then
Mm,
it retains the talent that you have at the top like 10%.
mm,
So in this example, I would then do testing creators, that ones I'm not 100% sure of, at 12 to 15%. At this point, my goal is just to validate their conversion. And then anyone that's scaling, I would do 18 to 20%. And what that does is commission drops like $3 to $4 per order, which, as you
mm,
saw, every dollar counts in that
mm.
margin
Yep.
percentage. So this is probably the lever that you can 100% um, always kind of go up and down on to kind of fix that leak.
So I guess I'm curious because earlier you were saying that you go really high to acquire new affiliates, right? Are you
Correct.
putting like what sort of like time bound like or what sort of duration are you putting on target collaborations to then get back to this model where you can like tier it out separately?
90 days.
90 days. Okay.
90
So
days. So I give them a chance to post multiple times before I decide if they're a good fit or not.
So the workflow here is reach out and acquire creators at an aggressive commission after 90 days as your referral fees and platform fees start going up and those commissions expire, then you start to tier affiliates out based off of who's promising. And from
Correct.
there, the way people would actually do that is they'd use their whatever software they're using, right? Or whatever analytics reporting tool they're using. They would look at the creators that generate GMV, correct? And then they would tier it
Correct.
from there. What is like
Correct.
where it starts at GMV? Do you look at anything else like views,
Videos
engagement, or
posted, views, impressions, quality of videos, frankly, because we
okay?
can help with like hooks and different things like that. But if someone has potential, and even though the first message says 30%, as we start to message creators throughout their 90-day journey with us in the beginning, we will start to talk about how, hey, like if you don't post, like, if we don't get more posts, or like you don't fix these things, your commission's going to scale down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so like we still want to invest with you, but like the 30% was just a promotional offer for right now. So let's get as many sales out in that 30% commission as possible. And so you'll see creators either one, step up and just start posting that much more, or two, you'll kind of lose the bottom of the pack, which is okay because you're going to have to churn them anyways.
Do you feel like for affiliate retention in the long run, these creators might have wandering eyes for like other similar products that are offering more, especially the ones in like the scaling bucket, offering more in
We
terms of
might,
more
but by
commission?
that point, our community's already being built. So they already have flat fee incentives, they already have gamification happening at the same time. So that kind of takes over that percentage gap, right? So from the community side. And so I think I haven't seen that happen. And I honestly, the first time I did like really aggressive commission, I honestly thought that I was going to lose a bunch of creators because once I took the commission down, but it was something I wanted to test with one of my clients and I did. And it's been working really well. So it does
Mm-hmm.
work. By that time, we've got them kind of really deep into our community. And so they're less likely to leave. I actually have creators come to me and say, oh, so and so reached out and they're offering like 6% more commission, but we're going to stick with you because you put so much effort into building with us.
Interesting. So this is a good call out for a lot of people listening where it's like true affiliate retention does not mean levering up your commission rate all the way. Like you don't need to give a super high commission rate to keep your affiliates. The relationship, subsidizing or adding in flat fee bonuses later, like those things tend to keep affiliates more sticky than keeping a commission rate that might tank your margin in the long run. So just food for thought if people feel like they're trapped into offering high commission rates to launch products and sustain products on TikTok Shop.
Yep. And so what I always say is you want to pay for performance, not potential.
Yep,
So,
makes sense. Yeah, all these there's a lot of like affiliates who like they have like 60,000 in the last 30 days and they do like a couple hundred. It's just like you don't want to be bound by targeting all affiliates who do that with an unprofitable commission rate forever.
yep.
And so that makes sense.
Yep.
Cool.
And so the next leak that I talk about is shipping. This one's a harder leak to fix. Frankly, I always recommend clients not touch this if they're not doing 3 to 5 thousand orders a month, whether that's only TikTok or whether that's all D2C. If they're doing like 3 to 5 thousand orders a month, I always tell them to start looking at 3PLs and competitive 3PLs to renegotiate or switch their partners. If shipping is over 18% of your AOV, which in this case it was, you want to renegotiate. You will then get $2 to $3 profit per order recovered if you renegotiate. And a lot of 3PLs are willing to renegotiate if your order volume goes up.
Hmm.
So I always recommend this be one of the last things that you do. You probably want to give it about 90 to 6, or probably 30, or 3 months to 6 months before you start to look at kind of fixing shipping costs, because you don't want to sign up with a new 3PL. They expect a certain amount of volume and then they just don't get it because we didn't, I don't know, blast off as soon as we thought we were going to on
Yeah.
or whatever.
No, that makes sense. And when you're launching your clients, do you try to like plan this out on the quarter where it's like, here's what we're gonna do next quarter, along with our new unit economics? You guys need to go to your 3PL and try to
Correct.
shoot for like this sort of shipping fee. You guys do that?
Yeah. Where and
Okay.
yeah, we do, and yeah, we do kind of a holistic um strategy session where we'll even talk about like UGC and organic posting. And I've had certain clients that I signed where like I will only sign with them if they have an organic social team, that, or like if they don't have a social team, then I'll introduce them to another agency and be like, you need to sign with
Mm,
this agency before we sign. So same thing with shipping rules, because even though they're doing shipping, let's say at that $7 mark that we were looking at earlier, they're it's going to start eating too much into their margins, and it's not going to be worth it. So we had a client right now that's doing like 300,000 a month on TikTok, but her margins are so slim because of shipping that's become really difficult. So one of the things we talked about in our quarterly session, this session, is switching 3PL partners. And so I helped her
interesting.
kind of, I mean, it's an easy, I feel like when you're an agency owner, it's some things like you just do them a lot really fast. And so I just looked up a bunch of 3PL partners that were competitive, sent them her way. She had the conversations, and now by next quarter, all her inventory will be switched over, and she's saving like $3 to $5 a shipment, which gives her room because her margins were okay. The problem we were running into is we couldn't do any promotions or anything like that
Yeah.
because, her margins are like that slim. So now it opens us up $3 to $5 per product to kind of really play around with promotions and hopefully take her up from that 300K mark, like higher.
I mean, you'd be surprised on how many, or maybe you wouldn't be surprised, but how many agency account managers are not having quarterly meetings to audit their 3PLs. Like, I don't think I've talked to an account manager. Maybe like agency owners have, like, like some founders have, but like, I don't think I've talked to any account managers who told me I do a quarterly audit to audit their cost structure and make sure their 3PLs aren't eating too much into their margins so we can buy back this. I think that's an interesting way to look at it, and you're going beyond the definitions where it's like, if margins are lower, how can we get creative, how can we renegotiate? I think that's something that people should be thinking about. It's not a matter of like, I can't run this strategy. It's like, what do I need to do to be able to run this strategy? So
Yeah,
it's
and the
also a
way that
good
I
flip.
view it, because I do those quarterly calls, so obviously my account managers are with them weekly. I meet with my
Mm-hmm.
clients typically quarterly. I'll meet with them in between too, but quarterly meetings are an hour to an hour and a half long, and this is all I focus on just to make sure, because I was brand side for so long. I know that when
Mm-hmm.
you're looking at trying to get more budget for whatever, they're looking at a couple, they're looking at CAC, they're looking at your unit economics and your profit and loss, and they're looking at your ROAS, and so I try to provide all three to
Mm-hmm.
clients so that they can take it back and just frankly get more budget for TikTok, because we all know it takes investment to be successful in TikTok, and it's the hardest thing for people to chew on. I've now like started talking about it like SEO, because SEO is similar. But to just like put a ton of investment in to start like getting some kind of return. It's the only way to like make them really understand. So I try to speak their language, or
Yep.
the language that I would have spoken if I was on their side.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense.
Yeah. Okay. All right, warning, discounts the false boost. So what happens when you add a 20% discount? And so we know this all the time. So if in this scenario, since the profit margin was so low, adding a 20% discount gives you an average order value of $31. You're still paying commission, shipping is unchanged, your net margin drops below 15%.
Mm-hmm.
This might not be a problem for some companies dropping at the 15% because they know it's temporary, right? But if they don't know that it's going to drop to 15%, that's when it becomes a problem. So walking them through what their profit margin will look like if they're putting any kind of discount on, and we do this every time TikTok has a campaign running. and they ask you to put a discount on top of your product, we run another P&L because and we do a very simple one. I have like a very simple Excel sheet that kind of takes all this stuff out. And we run a very simple P&L so that we are aware and the customer is aware. And that helps us determine how many units we want to put up for the discount and how long we want to discount. And sometimes we don't register for the campaigns because frankly, for a lot of our smaller businesses, it then doesn't make sense because smaller businesses are probably the ones that are more worried about being at 15% for a longer period of time than larger businesses with deeper pockets that understand that sometimes it's a trade-off.
So dive
Um,
more into that, like, because a lot of people ask me, like, what should my operating margin look like for this channel, right? And people are
yeah.
trying to stand up this channel. Some people are smaller businesses and they're like, oh, I'll just go down to 10% or 15% because I might make it up somewhere, but then they can't track it as much, right? So it becomes like a very complicated topic. I am curious, like, what's the cost benefit to getting more aggressive on your net margin here versus being more conservative?
I do think it's brand awareness and just getting a foothold onto TikTok. We all know like content is king. So recently, I've noticed that the top brands, the amount of content being posted from affiliates for them is in the thousands a month. So if you look at any of the top 10 brands in any category, you're looking at them having anywhere from 1,500 to 20,000 pieces of content posted a month. And so the reason for putting in just tighter profit margins in the beginning is just to get enough, like just push content as much as possible because it takes time to build out that thousands of pieces of content per month. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's like the biggest, if I think about anything in 2026 that I need to overcome for my brands and just in TikTok shop in general, it's trying to get to thousands of videos a month as quickly as possible. So that's the only time I would tell somebody take a profit margin cut because you just want to get as many affiliates and you want to get as many customers in your hand as possible that are building content for you, right? And so that's the only time I would say that. Um, you just have to be aggressive there. Now, if they can't afford it, I mean, it's, I think I wrote this, I think I wrote a LinkedIn post about this recently. I do strategize with my clients based on their needs. So if they tell me we can't go below 20, usually 20 to 30% is a good margin. So, and most companies are hoping to stick to that. If they tell me we can't go below 25%, then we stick to that. But we're just honest about what the cold start will take. And I
Yeah.
show them how many videos are being posted on these top brands so they kind of understand. A lot of, I think, people from brand side don't understand the amount of volume, like the sheer volume of content. They'll be like, oh, yeah, we post like, 2 times a week. And it's like, oh my God, like that's not enough. Like that's eight
Yeah.
posts a month. Like you need to like 5x that, 10x that
Yeah.
for it to even like start even making an impact. And then your affiliates can be posting like I've seen some affiliates post 120 times for one brand.
Yeah.
Those are like the evangelists that you're looking for, you know?
Yeah. It
Yeah.
is interesting because like the I don't know how many brands actually go and like watch and like look through the affiliate accounts with the timestamps. Some of these affiliates post 20 to like 30 times a week,
Correct.
multiple times a day on a single product and
Correct.
then shuffle in like multiple different product groups. Like I was talking to our CEO internally about our AI search algorithm, right? And we were talking about like, oh, how do we quantify which affiliate is relevant for an AI search because there's such a high volume of videos, so many products they're promoting, like it's absolutely insane. So to your point on the compounding effects of content, if the affiliates are putting that much content out into the ecosystem, what's a statistically significant amount you would need to put out to then be able to reach those same eyeballs? Like
Yep.
the platforms are very competitive, you know. They're
Yep.
going even LinkedIn, like there's been a huge tank in
Oh,
impressions
yep.
recently, right? And it's because more people are they're probably cognizant that more people are putting out more content and they're understanding it's a competitive space. So the answer is probably just put out more content and see
Yeah.
how that indexes.
And that's it's funny because a year ago, if you told me how much content does like a brand need before you consider them like semi successful and in earlier KPIs that aren't GMV, I would say like yeah, if you're getting 150 to like 200 videos.
Yeah.
No, like now it's like one of my newer clients that I just launched, we hit a milestone of getting 1,500 videos the first month. Like literally they're
Yeah.
still in cold start, we got 1,500 videos, but they were so aggressive. This is the same brand that's doing 30% commission. They're sending out 3,000 samples, so I'm not even kidding.
Wow.
Like all of that's like built in. And so that's why they're getting that level. But it's because I showed them how many videos it's going to take to become successful. And they said, all right, like bet, like we'll do it. We'll go in and we'll do this. And I said, okay, that's great. So now we're actually doing it. But that's the thing that a lot of brands just don't understand. They don't understand the sheer volume of content you need to produce in order to really get a foothold in the
Yeah.
space.
So I think going back to the discounts point, right? Focusing more on content rather than short-term sales through discounts, right? I think one thing to add just a little bit more color, TikTok looks at things on the back end in terms of percentage growth.
Hmm.
So if you're showing very fast traction in a month out of cold start and you're putting a lot of content, your week over week growth is like, over the triple digits, right? 100%, 150%, right? That's going to be rewarded, and there's going to be compounding effects down the line that are worth levering your CAC up a bit more.
That's right.
Again, you should be revisiting that on a quarterly basis, based on the presentation you're walking through, so that you're not sustaining that forever, but it is an investment you have to think about.
That's right. All right. GMV Max. I know you asked me about this last night. You're like, what about GMV Max? So I want to talk about what it is and what it isn't. So what GMV Max does is it increases distribution, it pushes volume to winning SKUs, and it amplifies what already works. What it doesn't do is fix your bad margins, fix high commissions, fix shipping inefficiencies, and replace creator efficiency. So what I always talk about is I don't put GMV Max in profit and loss because GMV Max should have a positive ROAS. So it should not be affecting your overall P&L. GMV Max just multiplies your outcomes. So if you have a bad profit margin, it's just going to multiply the bad profit margin. If you have a good profit margin, it's just going to multiply the good profit margin. And so that's what you're going to look at. You're going to look at your current unit economics, your average AOV in your profit and loss margin. You're going to 10x the volume on GMV Max, and if it's good, if you already had a good percentage, you're going to do great. If it's bad, it's going to get worse. And so that's what I want to preface here.
Well, going back one step,
Yeah.
um, there are still sellers who don't know that Shop Ads commission exists, right? And
Yeah.
GMV Max is done on like an ROI basis. So there are some scenarios where it can fix a portion of your bad commissions, right? Like if you are levering your CAC up, like let's say the differential, and sometimes creators get mad about this, right? The differential between your Target Collab commission and your Shop Ads commission, the commission you pay on GMV Max, is like a 30% to 5%, right? Is there arguments to be made where you could plan out unit economics where your CAC is a percentage of the time unprofitable, but then when GMV Max ads activate and you're scaling at like a 2x ROI on a 5% commission, the math like does work out
It
sometimes?
does work, but a lot of people don't know that you can tier commissions. And so one of the things
Okay.
I always talk about is I always turn on tiered commissions. I remember when they first started, where you could decrease shoppable ad commission, and creators would reach out and be like, we're gonna unlink from you because you did this. And it's like, well, no, you're gonna make more money. I like if your video goes as viral as we think it will, you'll make more money. So like it's one of those things where that's it's one of the creator commissions already need to be tiered, in the same way that shoppable ads commissions I would recommend being tiered as well in this space.
So you also have a underlying tiering system of shoppable ads commissions below your general creator tiering
Yeah, because
system
I
as well,
typically will
correct?
just take off, like, let's say someone's at like 25%, I'll typically take off 15% of their um
Yeah,
15% of their, yeah.
that makes sense. I would
Yeah.
single digits only for GMV
Yep,
Max. I mean, I
correct.
think so I do you also revisit GMV Max ads commissions on a quarterly basis as well, or do you sort of
We look at
keep those more
everything.
inside? Okay.
We look at everything. But typically when after the first 90 days, we've typically right-sized commissions kind of to almost like the final kind of numbers. After that, it's a little
Mm,
bit harder unless we want to increase commissions. The only time you'll ever see it change again is if you want to increase commissions for whatever reason. Maybe it's not working. Maybe you're not getting as many sample requests anymore. Maybe you're not getting as much content. So you want to revisit increasing it. But you will never decrease it typically after that first 90 days because you typically have right sized at that point. So, like for anyone doing 30%, like that one client, after our first 90 days, we'll probably go down to 18% and probably stick to that 18, you
got
know?
it. Interesting. So is there
Yeah.
ever a world where you are levering your GMV max commissions like incredibly high, like double digit percents to acquire creators, and
I've
then
never done that, but that sounds smart. I mean, it sounds like something we should test.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if there's like a way to model it where it's just like, hey, if we're looking at like a 1 year profitability plan, is there a tranche of creators we have on like some sort of retainer through our community where we put them on a super high shop ads commission? Because Goalie does 25% shop ads commission for their creators.
Of course they do.
As an evergreen strategy, that probably doesn't work for most brands, but I'm wondering, is there a way where we can kind of microcosm that and do
I'd
that
be
in
interested to see
sprints?
their unit economics, Sohun.
their
Because
their unit economics are all red. But I think
100%,
but I think
100%.
omni-channel, it's different. I think this is where things can get really interesting, where it's like, is Goalie trying to exit and hit certain revenue goals, like, and then they're gonna worry about cash flow later when they are looking to get bought out. Like, I think that's a whole different game. I think for
Yep.
like a lot of these businesses trying to start and get off the ground, they're probably not, like, they shouldn't copy Goalie's strategy because they're not thinking about things like an exit or an acquisition or buying other TikTok shop brands, right? So just
Yeah,
some
100%.
caveats
And
there.
then one of the other things that I always, because Goalie's always, I will guarantee Goalie's brought up so many times in sales calls, along with like Mary Ruth's Organic. So like
Yeah.
they're brought up a lot too. And so one of the things I always tell people is like for a lot of these smaller brands, especially like the smaller brands are looking for traction on TikTok Shop. They're not looking
Hmm.
for brand awareness to have like the outer reach and drive people to D2C and drive people to Amazon, drive people all of that. They're looking for sales in like return in GMV, attributable return inside of TikTok Shop. It's a very different game
Yeah,
than what Goalie and Mary Ruth's are playing. Plus,
it
like
is.
these brands are live 24 hours a day, multiple people at the same time. It's like, you know, first mover advantage.
It's interesting because I talked to Jay and Kat at Mary Roots a lot,
Oh
so
yeah.
I think their first year, like, they definitely weren't profitable, but it's funny, they're actually profitable on TikTok Shop by a really good amount. So
Okay.
they've hit profitability, but it was later. It was later. It's a different environment now, but I would say in terms of the big brands on both ends of the spectrum, Mary Roots is here and Goalie's here. Like Jay, when he was at Mary Roots and like really cared about it. He was just like,
Yeah.
all these other brands are losing money. Like, we're going to have it be a standalone channel and generate a ton of Halo for our
There you go.
Amazon business. So
See?
aggressive goals, but like him and Kat, just like absolutely cleaned up. Like, they were like one of
Yep.
the best TikTok shop
I
operating
only buy
teams.
Mary Ruth from the
Yeah,
lives. I
really.
wait for the flash sale. Yeah, I use their vitamins all the time. I wait for their
Yeah,
flash sales and then buy them. So,
they're good.
yeah. And so here I put turn GMV max on. I know I put only if all true, but honestly, it does depend. You want to make sure your contribution margin is decently high for you. I put 35% for this example, but really it could be lower than that. Your net profit, your shipping needs to be the 15 to 18% that I stick to. Your creator commissions should already be tiered, and then your SKU should be selling without discounts, and you can really scale it. I recently turned on ads for a so I turned on GMV max for a seller who also was a part of a bunch of TikTok campaigns. And then so their GMV max like really kind of popped off, and we were like at a 3.8 ROAS or something. It was going great. And then all of a sudden all of the campaigns with TikTok just stopped, and GMV max just boop tanked down because
Mm,
it was relying on the discounted pricing. And so I was like, oh, I should have known better. Like I should have known. And so now we have to right size GMV max, right? To kind of get right back up to that, because now the client's seen the 3.8x. They want to see that again.
yeah,
So we have to kind
they
of,
want to
go
see
again.
it.
Yep. So you want to make sure that GMV max is not only converting for you because of discounts. You want to make sure that profit isn't dropping as your volume increases. And then you want to make sure that your shipping spikes with scale. Like you want to make sure it's not increasing. And actually, you have some kind of agreement where it decreases with the amount of volume that you have going out.
For account managers who are getting into unit economics, can you just define what contribution margin means?
Mm, I'm blanking completely, and I wrote the slide.
So contribution margin, right? Contribution margin is like a term in economics, right? Where you're looking at all of your costs, right? So you've already
Yeah,
like taken
that's
out
right.
all of your like direct costs.
Yep.
So for products, like, it depends on like different kinds of accounting, right? Like sometimes they tie in the overhead of factories and labor
Yep.
into the product cost of goods, right? Other times they separate it out, right? But basically anything that comes into a cost of goods sold or any sort of variable cost with producing and sometimes even shipping out a product, right? That's a variable cost. That's tied into your contribution margin. So basically, GMV max should be on when you're thinking about all the costs going into selling a product, right? Direct
Right.
labor, direct costs, variable costs from sales.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. And then, yeah, I think one thing that's interesting to call out, I actually just learned this on a podcast where I interviewed a creator, Kaylee from Social Army, the other week. She was saying that a lot of creators try to specifically create bottom of funnel content for arbitrage and GMV max because they know it's going to be picked up. So I think, everyone has seen the faceless content in GMV Max that is calling out discounts, BOGOs, and fake deals. But you've got to understand that you're playing in an ecosystem where if your GMV Max is set up or turned on early in a way where creators know that they can get this arbitrage or advantage, on your content there, you're going to enable a feedback loop where you're getting into that 3.8 ROI situation that Navi talked about, and then you're reliant on that. Your client's reliant on seeing that, and then you're not going to be able to walk yourself out of that 6 months
Hmm.
to 8 months down the line.
That's right. That's right. I always talk about scaling slowly on TikTok Shop versus trying to chase virality. Because I see a lot of brands will come to me and they'll say we turn GMV Max on too early. That's one things we don't talk because we're focusing on profit margin here. I don't talk about that, but you also need enough content to turn on GMV Max. You don't
Yep.
want it to just spike up and then run out of content, and then all of a sudden you're not making money because the machine ran out of content that it can deliver against. So.
Yep. 100%.
And so here I talk about just two scenarios to really bring it home for anybody who is more visual. In scenario A, your profit you didn't fix your leaks. Your profit per order is $7. You do 10,000 orders a month. Your total profit's about 70,000. Versus if you fix your profit leaks and you're at $14, you're easily doubling the money that you're bringing home, and it just makes it there's a 70,000 profit difference, which really can make or break a brand on TikTok Shop.
Yeah, that's $70,000. That's a full salary for an
Yep,
account manager.
that's right. That's
So
right.
it's nothing to scoff at.
And then, so the final profitable state. So before we had our net at $9.25, but after you fix your leaks, you're at a net profit of 15%, which leaves you at a net margin of 33 to 38% and a net profit per order between $13 and $15 versus what we looked at. And that's with tiered commissions, with shipping controls, and limited promos.
Sounds good to me.
And then so I just put a little playbook here, how to apply this to any SKU. Write down your true landed cost. That's COGS, packaging, plus all your fees. Model your commissions by tiers. So testing versus scaling rates. Stress test your shipping. So check the percentage of AOV and your volume thresholds with your current fulfillment. And then add discounts last, only if margins survive. And if it doesn't survive without discounts, don't scale it. It's probably not the right SKU. And remember, like, not all the SKUs need to meet this. It's typically your hero SKU that needs to meet this. Everything else, you're not putting commissions behind typically, right? You're not putting them in GMV Max. You will offer discounts, but you have more option for those that aren't hero skewed. These only apply to the one or two products that you're hero skewing and commissioning out to affiliates. So luckily, you don't have to do this for your whole catalog. I have a client who has 1,100 SKUs in their catalog. Like, obviously, you're not going to do it for all of them. You want to do it for the one or two that are really going to be the ones that are scaling your brand.
100%.
And then why most brands fail this? It's feels better than margin math. Decisions are made emotionally, CAC leverage without recovery, and then no SKU level discipline. So profit is lost in small decisions repeated at scale.
Yep. Fully agreed.
And then I put a little take home assignment. Start today, start with one SKU, pick one SKU, build this exact math, identify your first leak, and then fix it before scaling.
All right.
And that's
Anyone who
it.
watches the recording or is here live, you have homework. So you
Homework.
better
And then
do
you have to you
this.
have to message me on LinkedIn and tell me you finished your homework.
Yes, you do have to do that. All right. That was a great presentation. For anyone who is online right now watching live, Do you have any questions? I'll give you like a couple seconds to drop it in the chat. Otherwise, we will call it and send the recording out. Going once. Okay, thank you. All right. Sounds like, how do we tackle the new service fees?
Lisa, which exact new service fees are you talking about? I know they've done a bunch of new things with um, negative balances and fees and all of that. So which one are you exactly talking about, my friend? Man, Sohan, this new negative balances thing is one of the hardest things I've had to deal with larger clients.
Oh, because like the payables are so much later.
It's so much
Yeah.
higher.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those. So when you're looking at, oh, the co-funded, yeah, the smart promotion program. So that's what I was saying. Every time a promotion comes out or a campaign comes out, I revisit P&L because it changes so often. So like every time you look at a new campaign, there's new requirements and there's new fees associated with it, and they're adding fees now on top of, right? And even in your they if your hero SKUs added to like the hero SKU program, you're all of a sudden paying extra fees too to have your product in there. So you need to revisit P&L quite often, as a brand and as an agency that's servicing brands, kind of for each of those. So that's what I do and my account managers do this really well too, where every time, because typically we're bringing these promotions to our clients. By that point, we've already redone a P&L because we have COGS for most of our clients, and we're taking it to them. We're telling them this is what's going to happen if you decide to join this promotion. So, and by the time like 90, yeah, it's 3.5% on GMV. And so that is quite a bit, but you do, TikTok does have a certain return that they will promise you as well, on those programs. So it's something that we will always look at and see if it's a investment we want to make.
Awesome. Any other questions? Okay, cool. I think we're gonna call it. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. Glad you found it helpful, Lisa. And stay tuned for more of these.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks everyone.